Good morning, ladies. Nick from Naturally Nick here, and I help women reduce their risk of getting breast cancer again using science-based diet and lifestyle practices. And today I want to talk about estrogen and are we eating too much? So most cancers are estrogen positive, and our levels of estrogen in our blood are what is correlated to our increased risk of getting breast cancer. So estrogen is not the villain. It's the balance of estrogen with progesterone. So these two beautiful female hormones do like this beautiful dance throughout our life. But sometimes they get out of whack. And it's lots and lots of things, some of which I'm going to be talking about today, which get it out of whack. And so you may have heard a term thrown around called estrogen dominance. And it means that basically we've got too much estrogen compared to the amount of progesterone that we've got. And a myriad of things can cause that. And what does estrogen dominance look like? It can be any of our female things being out of whack. So it means that you could, from a child, you could get your periods too early or start developing too early. You could have painful periods, periods that are, not regular. Then you could find it difficult to fall pregnant. You could have polycystic ovarian syndrome, endometriosis, fibroids, cysts, and then it could be, when you're going through menopause, just have, hot flushes that are out of control. The list just goes on and on. So what I want to talk about today is what are some of the steps that we can take to get that estrogen back in balance with progesterone? And what I want to focus on is what we eat, because unbeknownst to us, there are a lot of foods that we eat regularly that contain a lot of hormones. And the biggest one is dairy. So you may have seen that post that I posted. It was a little video yesterday about the history of dairy and how all that came about. But dairy is, we get milk from a pregnant cow. So milk is a very hormonal product. And so it is probably one of the first things that if you were trying to reduce your risk of getting breast cancer again, that I would say I would be encouraging you to leave behind. So I think this is just so much easier these days because we've got so many milk alternatives, rice milk, oat milk, almond milk, all the rest of them. We've also got some wonderful cheese alternatives. I know this is probably the hardest one for most people, is giving up their beloved cheese. But cheese is a concentrated, remember, it's a concentrated source of milk, concentrated source of animal protein. So it really needs to be minimized or left behind altogether. And I like to use nutritional yeast. It's it comes, you can get it at, health food shops or even Coles and Woolies these days. And it's like flaky Parmesan cheese. Delicious. So dairy is the first thing. The second one would be, hi Katie, the second one would be animal protein. Because once again, it's from an animal and it's hormonal. So there are, this cow is trying to, sorry, not this cow. Our meat is also full of hormones and factors in it like growth hormones that affect our hormones and also affect cancer. So I've always thought that we eat too much meat. We love, these massive big steaks and heaps of chicken and eggs. And I think that we just need to absolutely bring it down to smaller portions as a start. So a serve of meat is like the size of a deck of cards or the palm of your hands, and reduce that down to a maximum of once a day. So now you're saying, well, what am I going to eat? Well, there are some wonderful plant-based alternatives that aren't going to affect your hormones. So getting back to things like beans and legumes, hi Leanne, and whole grains, so whole foods. And I think the thing that we've forgotten, and I think I posted something about it yesterday, is that dairy products and animal products do not have any fibre. And we so need fibre. So you can eat plant-based sources of protein and get all the protein requirements that you need. Even if you just ate brown rice and broccoli with the amount of calories that you need for the day, you would get the quality and quantity of protein that you need. So don't be afraid that if you're not eating much meat, you're not going to get enough protein. You do. You also get enough iron and enough calcium if you are eating lots of green leafy vegetables and some nuts and seeds and things that contain calcium and iron. You are not going to be deficient. So that would be another suggestion, that you start decreasing the amount of animal protein that you eat and increasing the plant-based sources of protein like beans and legumes and whole grains. Just start by adding a can of beans to your casseroles. I mean, one of the things I talk about with my clients is you've made a casserole and the family are going, oh, we don't want beans. Just take out your portion and add some beans. You have to do what works for you. I get it. Now, the next thing is industrial seed oils, those polyunsaturated fatty acids, corn, canola, cottonseed, sunflower, safflower, soy. The easiest way to avoid those very toxic oils is to leave processed foods behind. Just have to remember that people who manufacture those foods don't care about your health, they care about the bottom line. So by making everything from scratch and using minimal amounts of olive oil or coconut oil, then that is the way it's the easiest way to leave those oils behind. Now, wheat is also one of the whole grains, and mostly we eat it in a processed way, as in bread and pasta and things like that. I would also leave wheat behind, especially if you're having any kind of abdominal issues. Wheat also is very highly susceptible to a mold that's very difficult to get out when out of it, and that can also act like a fake estrogen. So I would minimize my wheat consumption. Now, alcohol, I've gone on and on about alcohol and how that can upset your hormones and increase your estrogen levels. The pill and hormone replacement therapy, that would be also something to think about, because that is playing with your hormone levels and bringing in, disrupting your body's balance of those two. And I know that that's a touchy point, because some women say to me that going on hormone replacement therapy saved their life. So I just mention that, but there's no judgment here on that. Remembering that our fat cells also produce estrogen, the visceral ones in our stomach, so that is another avenue to be looking at. And of course, excess sugar, that always unbalances our hormones and is something to think about. So thank you, ladies. Just wanted to start bringing our awareness to what are some of the things in our diet that increase our levels of estrogen and upset that beautiful balance that we have if all things were perfect and we had that beautiful balance between estrogen and progesterone. Love to hear your questions, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.